You're watching This is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have spoken at length about what really happened on 7th of October when the world essentially witnessed the monstrosity of the Hamas terrorists. Over the last few weeks, what we have also witnessed an attempt that has been made by a section to try and romanticize with this kind of inhuman, barbaric behavior of the Hamas. Can there be a ceasefire to begin with? And more importantly, how exactly can you have any sort of dialogue with a terrorist group? Tonight, we bring to you a very special guest, a chief sergeant, a member of Israeli rescue unit. He's also part of the IDF's combat rescue unit. The reason why we decided here at Republic TV to essentially reach out to the Israeli special forces is also to understand what's really happening on the ground. And when we talk about the monstrosity of Hamas, it is Chief Sergeant who's joining us right now, perhaps are the first responders, the first to witness what really happened on 7th of October. Chief Sergeant, thank you very much for joining us on this special broadcast with Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you. On 7th of October, as I understand, you were with your fiancé, part of the reserve force. You were called in for the duty. In fact, you as well as your team reached out to that first kibbutz which witnessed the massacre that was created by the Hamas. Why don't you help us understand or recount for our viewers what is it that you witnessed the very moment you reached Nagao kibbutz?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me on the show. You have to say these are very dire times for Israel, and I feel as for humanity itself, because I think no one in the civilized world can imagine such horrors as were being conducted by the terrorists of Hamas on October 7th and the days afterwards. I have to say, on a personal matter, the first time I understood what we are facing, who is the enemy we are actually facing here, because as a paramedic in a national rescue unit of Israel, I had the privilege to treat Syrians that were fleeing from Syria, from the refugee war, from the civil war. Turkey, we treated injured people in the earthquake there. Palestinians from Gaza that needed medical care in Israel. I have personally treated people from all these countries. So to imagine that someone, any person in the world, is capable of conducting such horrors is just unexplainable. So the first time I understood is on that October 7th, Saturday, which is actually one of the most holy days for the Jewish people all over the world. And my team and I, we were called in. I was with my fiance at her parents' in that morning because of the festival, because of the holiday. And I was called in with my team. And after an hour, Israel is a small country. To get from Tel Aviv, the center of Israel, to the Gaza Strip is a matter of less than 2 hours driving. And when we get to Nahal Oz, which is a kibbutz on that area, which actually in Hebrew is translated into the river of strength, of courage, Nahal Oz. And we arrive there, and among the sceneries, the terrible sceneries when we see in Nahal Oz and in other kibbutzes, there are other agricultural settlements, I enter a home of a family. And while we're looking for injured people, civilians to rescue, as we are in combat there by terrorists that are still holding houses on their own people living there as hostages. And I open with my team one of the rooms of that house, and I see two girls lying, one on a bed, one on the floor in their own bedroom. And the girl, 14, 15 years old teenager, she's lying on her bed, on the floor, on her stomach. Her pants are pulled down, and she is half naked. Her legs are spread out, wide open, and there are remains of sperm on her back. Someone executed her right after he brutally raped her while just shooting her in the head. She was left there to, lie in the blood of her in a puddle of blood. And that is the first time I actually like this, slap in the face. I understand we're not acting against terrorists here. We are acting against savages, inhumane savages.
Chief Sergeant, I also want to ask you this question with regards to the hostage situation, because over the last few weeks I spoke to several family members, some who still do not have an idea about their loved ones who have been taken into captivity by the Hamas. You actually also witnessed a situation like that. Hostages were taken in. Could you help us understand what is it that you witnessed in terms of, perhaps resolving a hostage situation?
So what happened in October 7th, as thousands of terrorists crossed the border between Gaza and Israel. Now it's important to understand that Hamas is in control, complete control of the Gaza Strip. Israel is not in control for many years, for over a decade, in the Gaza Strip. It's important to understand. So Hamas opened the borders and sent thousands of terrorists on its behalf. And it's important to understand also that the Palestinians in Gaza democratically chosen Hamas, which since then, of course, is keeping them as a vicious dictatorship. And their target, among many targets of spreading horror in the country of Israel, is to get to the nearby agricultural settlements and cities and to just kidnap as much as possible bodies, people, children, babies. They don't really care. They don't see the difference. And within a few hours, they just drag them back into the Gaza Strip, into the tunnels that they created for years to hold them in there so we can't reach and save them. But yet, what I'm focusing on here, we have to understand, by the time teams as my own team and other Israeli soldiers units from the Israeli Defense Forces reached those settlements to try and save the people living there, the terrorists were holding them hostages in their own homes, so we can't, to try and avoid us, eliminating them. And because we got there so fast and there was severe, intense combat within the neighborhoods of these settlements to try and save the people within the houses from the kidnappers, the terrorists that are holding them. Many we weren't able to. Many were slaughtered in their own beds. They were just executed. So many bodies of people that were cuffed with their hands behind their back and their eyes, with a scarf around them, and they were shot in the head, lying to death on the floor of their own kitchen. So many we weren't able, unfortunately. We didn't get there fast enough.